She stood there, clutching a plastic trash bag filled with everything she owned. $12 in her pocket, no home, no one to call. And the man who put her there was the same man who once promised to protect her until death. He didn't just throw her out of the house. He threw her out of her life. And on that night, as she stood under the pale streetlight, sick, shivering, and humiliated, something inside her broke. Something that would never heal the same way again. But here's what no one expected. She didn't just survive. She fought back, rebuilt her life piece by piece, worked through pain, through illness, through nights when she thought she wouldn't wake up the next morning. And years later, she stood in front of a $750,000 home. Hers. Entirely hers. Proof that she had risen from the ashes. But life wasn't done testing her, because one day there was a knock at the door, and when she opened it, her past was standing right there. Older, weaker, empty-handed. He wasn't there to apologize. He wasn't there to make things right. He was there because he had nothing left, and he wanted to live in her house. Imagine the rage, the memories, the pain flooding back. What would you do? Would you forgive the person who once left you out in the cold? Or would you show them what that cold really feels like? Because what she did next would make the entire neighborhood talk. She used to be the kind of woman everyone admired. Strong, compassionate, the quiet glue that held the family together. She worked 2 jobs at one point just to help pay for the house they lived in. She believed in hard work, loyalty, and love. Then her illness hit. It started with pain in her joints, then the fatigue came. Soon she could barely make it through a day without collapsing. Doctors told her it was an autoimmune disorder. She would have good days and bad days, but the bad days would always be there. At first, her husband pretended to care. He brought her tea, helped with groceries, but little by little, the tone changed. The patience ran out. He started looking at her differently. Not like a partner, but like a weight around his neck. He didn't say it at first, but she felt it. Then the bills came. Medical expenses drained their savings. He started snapping at her for every little thing. She felt it building, the distance, the resentment. But she still believed he loved her. Until that night he came into the bedroom carrying a trash bag. Not a suitcase, not a box, a trash bag. He told her she had to leave. Today, no discussion, no compassion, just cold finality. She begged, not for money, but for time. She was too sick to work, too sick to pack, too sick to even stand without help. But he didn't care. He put $12 on the nightstand as if $12 could buy her a new life. When she didn't move fast enough, he grabbed her suitcase, stuffed it with a few clothes, and dragged it outside himself. She stumbled after him, crying, pleading, but he shut the door and this time he locked it. That night she slept in a women's shelter, her body aching, her mind spinning. But that night also lit a fire in her. She realized she had no one left. And no one was coming to save her. She had to save herself. The next months were hell. She was sick, broke, and alone. But she refused to give up. She started working part-time at a corner store, saving every penny she could, lived in the cheapest room she could find, sometimes skipping meals to afford her medication. But she kept going, through fever, through pain, through nights where she cried herself to sleep. Every dollar saved was a step closer to freedom. Every day survived was proof that she was still fighting. Over the years, she got better, not cured, but stronger. Trained in bookkeeping, got a remote job, and slowly built a small savings account. Then one day, she did something she once thought was impossible. She bought her own house. Not just any house. A beautiful $750,000 home with a white fence, a garden, and a warm, safe bedroom that was hers alone. It wasn't just a house, it was a symbol, proof that she had survived the worst and come out stronger. And then, the knock on the door. She opened it and froze. It was him, older now, thinner, eyes hollow, clothes worn. He said he had nowhere to go, that life had been hard, that he had lost everything and he wanted to stay. In her house. Her first instinct was rage. How dare he show up here? How dare he think he could just walk back into her life after what he did? But something stopped her. She didn't answer right away. She told him to wait outside. And then she walked into the kitchen and sat down, shaking. All those years of pain came rushing back. The night he threw her out. The night she cried in that shelter. The nights she worked through pain just to keep going. This was her chance. Her chance to finally decide how this story would end. She walked back to the door and opened it. He was still standing there, shivering, looking small. She could have let him in. She could have forgiven him, but forgiveness didn't feel right. Because some pain never leaves you. Some scars never heal. She looked him in the eye and said the words she had waited years to say. "You threw me out once. Tonight I'm returning the favor." And then she shut the door. The sound echoed through the house. Her heart was racing. Her hands were trembling. She stood there, frozen, listening. There was no sound outside, just silence. Hours passed. She couldn't sleep. She kept hearing the wind outside, wondering if he was still there. Morning came. She opened the door. He was still there, but this time he wasn't standing. He was lying on the ground, motionless, cold, still, gone. The sight hit her like a punch. Her knees went weak, her breath caught in her throat. She had imagined this moment so many times, but not like this, not with him dead on her doorstep. Neighbors came running, the police came, the ambulance came, but it was too late. He had died sometime in the night. They asked if she wanted to know the cause of death. She shook her head. It didn't matter. That night she sat alone in the kitchen. No tears came, no relief, just an emptiness she couldn't name. She had survived him. She had built her own life. She had taken back her power. But as she sat there, staring at the door where he had stood, one thought refused to leave her mind. Was this justice or was this something darker? She didn't know, and maybe she never would. But one thing was certain. She would never forget the sight of him lying there lifeless, in the same place where her own pain had once begun. And to anyone who heard her story, she would only ask one question. If the person who broke you came back begging for help, would you open the door? Or would you make them feel the same cold they once left you in? Because sometimes, the line between justice and revenge is thinner than you think.